The units which are zero discharge, that actually do not discharge any water from their units, out of the totally how much we have around 70 units covered in the GRI reporting. So out of that, Bangalore and Sharanpur cigarette manufacturing factories are completely zero discharge. We have tobacco leaf crushing plants at Anapati and Chirala, they are also zero discharge. A packaging and printing unit at Tiruvattur, zero. Then our research centers, then our paperboard unit at Bolaram, our green center at Gurgaon. Yeah, this is what I was talking to about the integrated watershed development programs that we do, where we work with NGOs, where we first start off by bringing all the villages together and having a complete agreement on how the watershed management program will be done, what are the physical activities will be done, what are the rights and responsibilities for every stakeholder. These are all defined in these initial meetings, and only after the agreement is done and arrived at, we do the investment in know-how. We do the seeding capital. It's not that we just go and we pump in money, but we do the investment in providing managerial expertise, how to do these programs. And these are, though you see it as a picture, but in most parts of India, the reality is that if you are talking about drinking water, potable water, the women of the families, they have to spend nothing less than 4 to 5 hours every day collecting water. And besides the physical labor, it is also a huge loss in productive resources, because this section of the society are spending their entire time only getting and fetching water. So when you really can make water available, it improves the income levels by making productive resources free at the unit level. These are actual structures. These are check dams which we have done in water stressed areas. This is before the monsoons. This is how it looks after the monsoons. And it is not just water which collects here, but the entire water table rises. So you have open wells which fill up, and water which was available only for part of the year, by virtue of these actions you ensure availability across the year. We've already covered 54,000 hectares in these watershed programs, and our target is that I think within the next 3 years we should be covering around 1 lakh hectares. Yeah. This about waste, I already discussed this, so we skip it. This. Okay. This gives you the actual numbers in terms of across the years, which are the waste which is coming in from where. And if you really look at it, in 2009-10, 122% is the waste usage. I mean 100% is what we generate ourselves, 22% is what comes from waste that we procure from outside. So when you look at it as a footprint, we are actually doing 122%. Yeah. These are some of the units which have achieved the zero waste status. So in all of them, it is actually more than 99%. There is around a small amount which is construction waste, which we have not been able to kind of find solutions to, but this is what it is. So what are the processes and systems that enable us to ensure performance like this year in, year out? One, of course, is the fact that all data, whatever we put forward, is audited and verified by a third party. This year it has been done by Ernst & Young. Previously it was done by PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have systems, say like when we do energy conservation audits, the payments that we do are not on the basis of getting in a consultant, paying him a fee and he walks out. His payment is made only when savings are achieved. So it very clearly ties in payment along with performance, and it also ensures that whatever performance we are declaring has gone through the audit process and stands scrutiny. Over and above all this, we have a system of annual audits by corporate EHS, that is our department, and the internal audit department, which is reviewed by the executive directors. I mean, the report of every unit is reviewed by a director, a full-time director of ITC, and very clear directions from the top on the way that we wish to go. This is basically ITC corporate governance processes are designed to support effective management of multiple businesses. I mean, we are a multiple business organization. There are government practices at 3 interlinked levels. I'll just share that with you. The strategic supervision is done by the board of directors. The strategic management is done by the corporate management committee, and you have an executive management which is done at the business level. So what I'm saying is that if you take a hotel business, there's a hotel executive management committee. Above that there is a corporate management committee, and then above that it goes to the board. That is the way it is structured. Yeah. So clear policies on environment, occupational health and safety and social issues by the CMC, EHS guidelines and standards, then we have implementation by different businesses, development of social related policies, and implementation of all systems and policies ensured by auditing process. So that is the way it works. So I mean, if you are looking at setting up a new hotel, we have, say for example, a policy on water. What is to be done with its water? We have a policy on its energy. We have guidelines on how the electrical system is to be designed. These are all laid out processes, and it has to be followed, audited, verified and reported back to the board. So choice of business model based on the triple bottom line approach, contribution rather than only on shareholder value. That is social and farm forestry is one clear example of this. I'll explain this a bit. See, when we set up the paper business, a very clear option which is still available now is to use imported pulp, which mostly comes from Indonesia, which is cheap. You don't have to invest in setting up factories, getting into all these systems of procurement of raw material. But as an organization, we thought that if we just use imported pulp, one, it makes us very vulnerable to foreign exchange fluctuations. Second thing is the aspect which we have is that we do not create employment within our area of operation. But if we start doing procurement of pulp using the social and farm forestry models, we get assured supply base. We are completely cut away from the the risks which happen from, say, in the foreign exchange market, and you create a very good support base for yourself. So based on this thinking we took up this entire initiative of social and farm forestry, and I'll share some this thing with you. And though it involves longer gestation and involves significantly greater managerial and financial investments, a lot of investments in R&D also to develop improved varieties of saplings, where we got down the harvesting cycling for 7 years to grow typical subapul and eucalyptus. Instead of 7 years, we brought it down to 4 years. Almost everything comes out of uniform size and resistance to pests and diseases. We have very customized extension services. What I mean by customized extension services is the ability to go and reach out to the farmer, because he's the person who's doing the job for us. Yeah, that is, like I said, we buy at the rate, we do not enter into contract, and if they are willing to accept the rate, they sell it to us. This gives you a scale of our R&D activities. This is only the nursery where we do all the subabul and the eucalyptus clone development. I mean, this is an area which I think covers around 40-45 odd acres, where we do only the nursery. Next. The wasteland conversion, where land which was earlier completely barren, we do the plantation. What you could see that first row of crops would be in its first year, and the fully developed trees is on the 4th year of development, creating sustainable livelihoods. Yeah. We have done over 1 lakh hectares, and in area wise I believe that this is larger than the area of Paris and London put together, and this has directly happened out of our initiatives. Providing livelihood to poor people and marginal of course. creating 48 million percentage of development. The environmental impact, of course sequestering all this carbon. Topsoil retention is also another important part, because of every rains that you would have, you would lose a lot of topsoil, but when you bring it under forest cover, this is something that you help protect. And of course, huge economic benefit to ITC, because without economic benefit to ITC, this is not possible. And this is where we differ from some people, because we feel that whatever activities we do on the social front has to be part of our business model. Because if it is not part of our business model, there is no way we will be able to ensure that that activity will continue. This is what we do also for sustainable agriculture. We give them intercropping possibilities, that where you do eucalyptus suberbull, but you also do intercropping with chili, you do with different other plants. This is part of our outreach, which are the different Chaupal sagas that you have across the length and breadth of the country, where farmers can come, sell their produce, buy their requirements, get technical support in terms of soil testing, lab testing. These are available. Yeah. Catalyzing and supporting other meaningful initiatives, water harvesting, livestock management is again another area where we do a lot of work, women's empowerment, supplementary education. See this, for example, our Agarbatti business, this Mangaldeep is one of our brands, is the whole model is empowering women who have almost no income. I mean, the way it works is like this, that earlier women who would be spending a lot of their time fetching and collecting water, by giving a water solution, you gave them free time. After you gave them free time, we gave them this possibility where they can roll these agarbattis and they give it to us and we market it. So for us, we have two things. One is the direct benefit which comes from selling agarbatti. The second thing is that it is also a business for our packaging, because the printing and packaging is done by us. The paper is produced by us. So it is a huge multiplier. It is not just a question of doing, one watershed program where some women are benefited by not having to spend 6-7 hours a day getting water. Everything is sequential, built up together so that everybody benefits. And our entire model is based on this for every single activity.